Hello, my name is Joe, and welcome to my channel, Joe's Book and Movie Corner. Today I have my final video for Booktrek 2025. This is a reading event created by Vin at Revenant Reads. I love reading Star Trek. I got a head start this year. I was reading Star Trek books this year before Booktrek even began. And this is my last video. It's coming a little bit late. My wife and I've made mention of this before, we have a guest staying with us. We don't know... Well, we have some idea for how long, but for the foreseeable future, we have this guest, and a lot of other people like to come and meet this guest, and he requires a lot of our attention to entertain him, and yeah, he's very, very needy, this guy, but we like having him. But I've had a lot of people at my house, so I haven't been able to make videos recently, so that's why this video is coming late. The main book I'm going to talk about is my final Star Trek book for Booktrek 2025. It's Dark Mirror by Diane Duane. I love this book. I thought it was a lot of fun. Before I talk about this, though, I want to talk about two other books, a nonfiction book as well as a comic book. But if you want to jump right ahead to the good stuff, I'll go ahead and put a timestamp down in the description. So if you just want to skip right to this, you're able to. First, I mentioned this before a couple of videos ago. I have stalled out this year on reading nonfiction. I'm counting this under Booktrek because one of the away missions is to read a science book, a nonfiction science book. So this is Stephen Hawking's The Illustrated: A Brief History of Time, as well as The Universe in a Nutshell. I was just focusing on this first book. Since my last mention of this, I think I've only read maybe one or two more chapters, so I still have a few chapters to go. But yeah, my nonfiction reading has just stalled out. I think it's okay. I actually, even though I'm stalling out on it, I could use maybe a little bit more detail, I think, in this. Just look at a couple of videos ago. I talk about it more. I probably won't mention this again, but I really should try to finish this. Maybe after the next Conan story I read for Sumerian September. Maybe after that, I'll just knock this out. Next up, we have a comic book. This is Star Trek to Boldly Go by Titan Books. But what it actually is, in between Star Trek II, The Wrath of Khan, and Star Trek III, The Search for Spock, DC Comics had kind of an oddity. They had Star Trek comics taking place in between the two movies, but they didn't know what was going to happen in Star Trek III. Spock was not around. So, unfortunately, the stories in these books, and I don't know how many issues there were. This is just the first 6 issues. Here's the cover for the first issue. I don't know how long this went on for, but as you can see in the cover, or maybe you can't see it, but that's Lieutenant Saavik taking the place of Mr. Spock, the science officer. So, Star Trek 3 picks up pretty much right where Star Trek: The Wrath of Khan left off. So these were immediately, these stories were made immediately obsolete and impossible upon the release of Star Trek 3. Nevertheless, I did enjoy them. It is 6 issues. The first 3 deal with a potential war breaking out between the Klingon Empire and the Federation. The portrayal of the Klingons is really interesting. They're the one-off Star Trek the Motion Picture version of the Klingons. Kind of that pre-Search for Spock, pre-TNG version. So that's really interesting. And then, so that's the first 3 issues. There's also The Ultimate Villain is a throwback to a TOS episode, an episode that I really, really like. I won't say what it is, but if you've read this, you know what I'm talking about. And then the next 3 issues are... They take place in the aftermath of that conflict with the Klingon Empire. So there is kind of a continuity. And then in the very last issue, at the end of issue 6, there's a note saying, next issue, the Enterprise returns to Vulcan to learn the truth about Saavik, plus a certain pointy-eared guest star. So who is that pointy-eared guest star? I have no idea. But that's got me hooked. I want to read issue number 7. So at some point, I may try to seek that out and read it. But this wasn't great. Also, the artwork, I should mention, it's 80s comic book art. I think a lot of people would like more modern comic book artwork better. The characters don't always look like their on-screen counterparts, but I actually kind of like this better, even though sometimes it can be a little bit crude. The coloring here, I mean, I have an issue, I think, with sometimes with old comic books reissued. The colors are a little bit too vibrant. I feel like they work better on newsprint. But nevertheless, artwork's okay. It's not the greatest, but I kind of like it. This was, yeah, just a fun oddity. I don't like the cover here. I think it's kind of ugly. But yeah, it makes me want to seek out issue number 7. So I'm really glad that I read this and that I have this. And I actually have a couple more Titan books reissues of DC Comics Next Generation. There's one book that I have. There's another one that I want to get. And at some point, maybe I'll talk about that. All right, so your main event here. Star Trek Dark Mirror by Diane Duane. This is the second Diane Duane book that I've read this year, the first one being The Wounded Sky. And I like this quite a bit. This is basically a mirror universe story. This is something, the mirror universe, of course, was introduced in the TOS episode Mirror Mirror, and we did not see it again until Deep Space Nine. The Next Generation never had a mirror universe episode. So this was a lot of fun to read, and I really like the mirror universe. I know some Star Trek fans don't like it. I think I like the TOS version better than the Deep Space Nine portrayal, even though I like those Deep Space Nine episodes. They kind of changed the nature of human beings in Deep Space Nine. So if you don't like the Deep Space Nine mirror universe stories, but you like the original series episode, you will like this. This is absolutely in the same vein as the mirror universe, as Mirror Mirror, but without copying the story. So the setup is a little bit different. First off, there is, in, I guess, Diane Duane fashion, she has a guest character that is a non-humanoid alien. And then this character is this dolphin alien that is also a theoretical physicist. And she writes about this fake physics theory called hyperstring theory, not to be confused with the real-life string theory, which, by the way, is talked about in that Stephen Hawking book, and from what I understand is kind of on the way out in theoretical physics, but that's a topic for a completely different YouTube channel. Anyway, this hyperstring theory is kind of interesting. There's basically a lattice that exists in the universe, and it reminds me of the real-life idea of the ether. I think the ether kind of inspires that. But it's kind of interesting, and it plays a part in the end of the book. The setup of this is different than Mirror Mirror. It's without giving too much away, it is the Mirror Universe Enterprise, which pulls in the Prime Universe Enterprise D into the Mirror Universe for reasons that are explained in the plot. There's an interesting difference between the two Enterprise Ds. The Prime Universe, their sensor technology is better, and the Mirror Universe, they put their focus in weapons. So the Prime Universe Enterprise D is able to kind of stay outside the bounds of the Mirror Universe sensors. And so they're able to send a small away team over and infiltrate the Mirror Universe ship. And that away team is Deanna Troi, Geordi LaForge, and then eventually Captain Picard himself. And while the plot, I'm having trouble remembering the exact details of the plot and even exactly what the away team is doing, that doesn't really matter. It's the character interactions, which is the big draw here, especially seeing the differences and the similarities between Deanna Troi, as well as Captain Picard himself. The Deanna Troi in the Mirror Universe, she's almost like in an old, what you think of as like a political officer on like a Soviet submarine, if that makes sense. So there's a lot of, she really is the true not second in command, but the second most powerful person in the Mirror Universe Enterprise, more so than William Riker. Mirror Universe Riker. And yeah, her character is absolutely evil. But there's some similarities between the Prime Universe Troy and the Mirror Universe Troy. Also, seeing the differences between the two Picards is interesting. And one flaw, I think, in the book is sometimes the pace slowed down a little bit when we had the Picard chapters. The plot kind of stops. It loses its urgency when we switch to Picard. Picard comes over to do something, and then he's just kind of sitting around in his counterpart's quarters. And he's able to contemplate the nature of his evil counterpart as well as just the mirror universe at large. We do get some very interesting... Diane Duane creates some interesting history of the mirror universe, which is really, really cool. But it does kind of slow the plot down, despite it being kind of fascinating. The end of the book, too, that hyperstring science, the dolphin science character plays a part in defeating the Mirror Universe ship. I didn't quite follow it. As I've made repeated reference in recent videos, I read books at night, and I'm often very, very tired when I'm reading. So sometimes just details of books just kind of go over my head, and I just accept that. So yeah, the ending of the book was not quite clear to me, but other than that, it's the character interactions where you compare and contrast the two versions. And then the background history was also pretty interesting. So I really like this. If you like the Mirror Universe, especially the TOS Mirror Universe, definitely check this out. This was a lot of fun. I liked it a lot. So that's it for me for Booktrek 2025. But that's not it for Star Trek reading. As these next few months go on, I have so many Star Trek books, both physical books and ebooks. I'm just going to use them as palate cleansers, I think. So maybe I'll talk about them, maybe I won't. Kind of depends on whether I want to keep doing weekly reading reports or if I just want to stick more towards certain books that I'm reading. We'll see what I do. My life is just very busy and it seems like a new thing every week or every month for me. But that's all for now, but it's not it for Star Trek for me. But thank you.